JJ Redick, the Lakers' next head coach. After retiring from being an NBA player, JJ Redick has developed such a versatile portfolio, I guess if you want to say. JJ Redick has appeared many times on First Take. He also has his own podcast where he interviews not even just ex-NBA players, but other people as well. And I don't know how many subscribers they have at this moment, but I think they might have hit 1 million already. I do think his podcast is actually really good. I've watched it a bunch of times, so shout out to JJ Redick. Back to ESPN, besides being on First Take, which is obviously, an ESPN show, I guess if you want to say, he also is an analyst during the prime time NBA games. When I say prime time, I mean he gets like the ABC game. It's like Lakers Celtics, Saturday night, 8:30 on ABC. And I don't know how exactly you would describe it. So I guess you could call it like the A crew, for lack of a better word. Like basically ESPN's first choice, or rather who they would put on like the biggest games. So JJ Redick is part of that. In addition, JJ Redick launched that podcast recently with LeBron. So he has so many things going on. He's doing so many different things. But now the news is coming out that it's looking like JJ Redick will be the Lakers' next head coach. So I'm going to talk about what this means for the Lakers and also what this means for ESPN. From the Lakers standpoint, it's hard to say what to expect from him as a head coach just because we haven't seen him as a head coach in the NBA before. So I can't give an opinion on how much success they're going to have because I don't even have anything to base it off of. And even then, we see coaches go to different situations all the time and things are completely different. But still, JJ Redick, we haven't seen him at all. So there's not even any kind of benchmark, I can base this off of. I will say though, something that could be really exciting to think about is some of the best coaches are ex-NBA players who were not superstars. And that's no shade to JJ Redick because he knows he had a very long and good career. But we're talking about someone on the level of LeBron, or Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Luka at this point, players who were a JJ Redick type player tend to have, or sometimes have, good experiences being a head coach. So let's give an example. Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr and JJ Redick are both known for being good shooters. We know Steve Kerr, I believe, he leads the entire NBA in three-point percentage, right? I think he still does. I have to double check that. But Steve Kerr, we know, was on the Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. I believe he also played for the Spurs with Tim Duncan. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I think he was still playing at that point because I know he obviously won with Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls, the dynasty. And then I know that he was with Pop, and I believe it was towards the end of his career, maybe, something like that. So he got a ring there, and then we know that obviously he is the coach of the Golden State Warriors, who were another dynasty. Let's talk about another one, Pat Riley. Pat Riley, we know, is an ex-NBA player, and although he, again, wasn't a superstar, he was a good NBA player, but coaching is where he really took off. And then obviously we know him now for being basically the Miami Heat. Not even just the president or whatever, he's just the Miami Heat. Miami Heat equals Pat Riley. But Pat Riley really took off when he started, becoming a head coach as well. And he was a great head coach. Another one that everybody knows, Phil Jackson. So all these coaches were ex-NBA players, and some of them better than others, but they weren't at a superstar level, but they still ended up being dynastic head coaches. So I say all that to say, JJ Redick seems to be very, very intelligent, very smart. He studies the game. You could tell when he's on the broadcast, for example, and they're calling a game, he'll give in-depth analysis that only someone who played in the NBA or just studies the game the way he does would be able to announce and analyze the way he does. I don't know how to explain it, but there's just some things he says where I'm wow, that's some really cool information I would have never thought I would have heard on a broadcast. So I would say if you're a Lakers fan or just an NBA fan in general, I would keep an open mind. It also depends, what is LeBron going to do this summer and how many years is LeBron going to have left. So there's a lot of variables here. So I would just say stay patient. Now let's talk about it from ESPN's standpoint because this could be monumental. We know that they fired Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson, who always announced alongside Mike Breen, and they were my favorite crew to watch, and I was very disappointed when they were fired, and so were a lot of people. And it just seemed very abrupt, sudden, and didn't seem like it should have happened. Regardless, we go past that, and they bring on Doris, but they put Doc Rivers there. Well, guess what? Doc Rivers, midway through the season, I guess if you want to say, he became the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. So they elevated him to the A crew. Like I said, I'm calling them the A crew. They elevated Doc Rivers to the A crew, but, he left ESPN in his first year, back. Because I think he announced for ESPN before. Correct me if I'm wrong. But so he left midway through, and you could probably guess that ESPN was not happy about that. So what do? They elevate JJ Redick, one of their bright, up-and-coming, analysts, and they were like, this is going to be great. So this was the new A crew. Well, imagine they find out now that JJ Redick, after being on the A crew for a half a season, is going to be a head coach somewhere else, and now they are again searching for someone else to add to the A crew. Hindsight is 2020, but I don't really think there should have been any hindsight, because I really still don't think Jeff and Mark should have been fired. They were great together. They had great chemistry. They were funny. Like, if there was something that they did behind the scenes that, warranted a firing, obviously, I get it, but, there has been nothing that indicated that at all. So, barring that, I don't even know why they considered firing them. The reasons that I saw was money reasons, but sometimes the cheap becomes expensive. So with all that being said, if ESPN is left to find somebody else to add to the A crew, I'm not really sure who they pick, because they're losing analysts left and right, kind of. I mean, they still have a bunch of analysts, of course, a bunch of really good ones, but you fired two of the best ones, you lost one due to a head coaching job, and now you're going to lose another one due to a head coaching job. Who are you going to elevate, and what are you going to do about people just leaving during their contracts? So I think ESPN has a lot to think about, because the direction doesn't look great right now, but ESPN has been around for a while, so I'm sure they'll figure something out, but I'm just saying, it doesn't look great.